Well, good Thursday night, everybody. Welcome into the Miller's Edge Extra. A little late tonight. We got things happening. And so we still wanted to jump on here about 30, 40 minutes with you, talk a little bit of Alabama versus Tennessee. We calling it Redemption Saturday, Payback Saturday for Alabama after going down to Knoxville last season, getting upset by the Volunteers. And I think it was about 15 years. And I'm trying to set my phone. But it was 15 years. I think the streak was 15 years up until last season. Tennessee, really a high-powered offense. Josh Heupel has some of those frisbee catching dogs. He had a quarterback in Hendon Hooker that can sling the ball all over the place. Those receivers like Jalen Hyatt, who's playing for the New York Giants right now, 5 touchdowns in that game last season, and now it's back home, back here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, hoping to light up some victory cigars on Saturday about 5:30. The game is 2:30 on CBS, so we gotta wait and see how this game play out. So Nick Saban tonight, by the way, on Hey Coach, in his final words, it was a pep talk, not for the players. It was a pep talk for the fans. That's right. It was really good. He talked about how important the fans are. This game should mean a lot for the athletes and the fans, and how they can make a huge difference in this ball game by, really confusing, hurting the Tennessee's offense, who likes to go fast. They go tempo, tempo, tempo. They run almost 3 plays in a minute, so it's going to be imperative that the defense is sound. The defense is going to be able to get checks and calls and line up ready to play football. So we're going to break this down. We'll give you our keys to the game, our thoughts on how and why Alabama should win this game. They're going into this game, I believe, at 9.5-point favorite. Not that matters, but the committee, the people that bet, think that Alabama should win this game by, let's call it 10 points. But nonetheless, it's going to be a great atmosphere, great crowd here in T-Town, 100,000 plus. Should be loud and proud. Alabama is on a winning streak since losing to Texas in week 2. They've bounced back, haven't been consistent. That's been the biggest worry. We see the team kind of with ebbs and flows, up and down. But it's been a tale of 2 halves. I mean, they go out one half like they did last week, got a commanding lead, and then took the foot off the gas. Didn't seem to have much energy, but they held on and won the football game last week against Arkansas. Scary to a lot of Bama fans. We've seen a team struggle the first half against Ole Miss, came out in the second half, shut them down. We've seen the team struggle the first half against Texas A&M, came out the second half, won that second half 16-3, a dominating performance by the defense. And that's where we are. And then I think the biggest question, Christian, is who are we going to see? Will it be a complete game? And I think that's been the biggest concern for this Alabama Crimson Tide football team is consistency. Who are we going to see? Because we see the Alabama that played the second half against Ole Miss, the second half against Texas A&M, and or the first half that we saw last week. It's a really great football team. But then we see the flip side. That can be just a below average to average football team. So I think the biggest question that every fan wants to know going into this matchup is what team will show up on Saturday at 2:30 on CBS? Which team will dominate? And so that's the question I have. I feel very confident that this team should win the game, better talent across the board. But if they go play lackadaisical football, there's no doubt that this same Alabama football team could end up losing.
Yeah, and I don't see that happening. But in order for that not to happen, right, let's talk about what it's going to take from Alabama. First and foremost, looking at last week, right, the second half was a disappointment. Really, just because it's just the first half. Let's backtrack even more. We knew going in that game it was going to be probably a slow type of game, at least in the start. We knew Alabama was a second half team, so we kind of figured it would at least kind of maybe a little slow in the first half, then we get it going. Well, it ended up being flipped. But with all that being said, with all those variables, all those factors, you look at that game and you learn from it. You sum it up as it was an early game. You're playing an Arkansas team. We knew that they were going to be a tough opponent, even though the record showed otherwise, right? I always said, the record was deceiving last week, and we learned that firsthand. So what I learned from last week was we still can be explosive through the air. The second half, we had explosive runs back to back to back, it seemed like. And with that being said, all we just have to do is piece these things together. Defensively, we played great for the most part, at least in the first half. Second half, there were some mental errors, lack of execution, right? Allowing the quarterback to escape out of the pocket. Really, 60, 70% of the game, though, Arkansas had no solution, right? They couldn't move the ball. They couldn't get anything going other than a few, third down conversions that we gave them in the first half. But really, man, I mean, defense is solid. I just summed that whole game up last week as, we just weren't there mentally, right? We didn't appear to go out there and look to really establish, our will on them, right? Almost like we just were going out there to survive, whether it was because it was the Arkansas team who didn't have the greatest record or it was an 11 o'clock game. I think it was a little bit of everything. But, taking that into consideration, it is what it is. We learned from it. But looking at the positives was, we had explosive plays through the air. We had some explosive plays in the ground game. And defense, for the most part, did a good job. So if we could just put that all together, right, take all those positives into this week and to have the right approach mentally, which I think we will, right? I mean, we know how it went last year. We fell short last year, kind of pretty much, I don't know. You could almost say this game kind of ruined, our season last year. I know obviously the LSU game, throw that in there too, but this was a big one last year. So in my opinion, I think we're going to have the right mentality going into this week. We should have all the motivation we need, right? You're playing, it's basically a redemption game, a revenge game. So with that being said, looking at this game here, I think that we need to establish the run game, in my opinion, right? I think it's going to be imperative we run the football well in this game. I still think we need to take those shots when they're there because we've seen Jalen Milroe can take those shots. We can make big plays through the air. So I definitely still want to see that. But I think now is the time to have that balanced game, right? Offensively, run the ball, right? Let's carry over that running game that we had in the second half and pair that with the passing ability we had in the first half. And let's have a complete game in a balanced game plan offensive because I think that's what we need in this game. And I think that's what we need moving forward. Defensively, we've got to be stout, right? We know this Tennessee team is a lot different than last season's team, right? You talked about it. Josh Heupel, he's great schematically. He does a really good job getting the matchups that he wants, right? That's his whole MO, right? And that's what they're going to do. They're going to try to spread you out. Except this year, they're spreading you out, looking to hopefully get you thin and running the football, right? They're spreading you out that way. They can get you in that dime personnel. You're preparing to respect their personnel. You're preparing to respect, their ability to throw the football, but they're looking to run the ball, right? And then what do? They convert. They're quick back on the ball. They're going that way. You don't have time to sub and get your other personnels in there, and they're trying to catch you slipping. That's what you got to expect out of these guys. So defensively, now look at this game. We got to do a really good job being prepared for the tempo because they're going to go fast. We got to be stout against the run. Joe Milton is a talented quarterback. He's not consistent enough for me to necessarily worry about him too much. Now, I will say, though, I don't think you should discredit or discount his passing ability, right? Just because he's not the most consistent, he still has a big arm, and he can beat you deep if you're not careful, if you're not disciplined, right? So even though they are a very run-heavy team, they're I think they're the number 6 rushing offense in the country. I fully expect them to run the football, which I know they will. However, I do believe that they'll look at last season and they'll know that, hey, Alabama's secondary was vulnerable last season. Let's try to attack them through the air as well. Let's see if we can get them out of position on defense because that's really when they strike, right? They strike when they get guys out of position. They use those wide splits with their receivers. They get everybody spread out. And then they're doing things late. Their route concepts are designed to get guys on different levels, designed to get mismatches. They're designed to get a safety and man coverage on a speed guy, right? I'm not saying they have the same personnel as last year, but knowing Josh Heupel and how he likes to scheme things, I would not be shocked. Even though they run the football majority of the time, and that's what they want to do, that's their bread and butter, I would not be shocked if we see them take a good amount of shots and attack our secondary. But I do believe, obviously, if we do a good job stopping the run, then it'll kind of nip all that in the bud. But I'll be honest, I know a lot of people walked away disappointed last week, kind of what transpired in that Arkansas game specifically, really in the last 15, 20 minutes of the game, right? I mean, we really had a 24-6 lead, I think with like 7 minutes to go in the third quarter. It really wasn't until that last quarter and a half of play that really kind of, wasn't our brand of football. But I say all that to say, going into this week, I fully expect these guys to be motivated. Coach Saban talked about how well this team plays when they are motivated, when they feel disrespected. Well, the disrespect is there, right? These guys need to remember that feeling of being, stormed last year after they lost. Remember that feeling of the coach and everybody going, doing all these pressers, talking about how great they are because they beat Alabama. It was like that was their Super Bowl. They need to be replaying all that stuff in the locker room this whole week, which I'm sure they did. That's what we used to do when we were there. Have all the posters up there. So you got the right mentality. Now you just got to go out there and execute. And I think Coach Saban and his staff is going to be fully prepared. They know what to expect. Again, it's a totally different Tennessee team. But if anything, I think this Alabama defense that we have is built to stop this type of team that Tennessee has. Because again, we faced tempo several times this year. We've been doing a really dang good job stopping the run. The defensive line has been playing phenomenal the past few weeks. If they can carry that over into this game, I truly believe we can end up, really imposing our will. And I think this game could look similar to the Ole Miss game. In my honest opinion, I think it could look like that type of performance where defense, you're stout, we're making plays, and in the Ole Miss game, we could have won by even more. But I fully believe that it could be that type of performance. I could see it playing that way. Now, it could come down to the wire, because when you look at these teams together, they both line up. I had the stats. I might have to hop over to my photo real quick because I wrote it down. We're number 15 in total defense. Tennessee is number 17 in total defense. We're number 18 in rushing defense. Tennessee is number 20. So we really almost mirror each other when you look at both of these teams. So I think it's going to be a good matchup. And the last thing I'll say that I'm looking at in this football game, their defensive front versus our offensive line. They've got a good front just like we do. They've got some really good pass rushers, specifically James Pierce Jr. This guy is freakishly athletic. He's got a plethora of pass rush moves. He can beat you on the edge. He can, beat you inside. Believe it or not, he's got a really nice speed to power move that he'll go to. And I would not be shocked if they try to get him isolated with Caden Proctor and or Elijah Pritchett as much as they can. So that's something I'm looking out for. I'm going to be paying attention to that matchup. But I fully believe if our offensive line can take care of business against their front and to get our running game going, that way we're not relying on all these deep shots and these deep balls, because, again, that's not always going to be there. I know we were successful last week. You can't rely on those home runs every game. If we can get our running game going, hit a couple of those deep balls when we need them, and do a good job in terms of our ability of stopping their run game, because that's what they want to go to, or do a good job of being prepared for the tempo, doing a good job of matching patterns when they do spread things out, I think we're going to be okay. But again, it's going to be a tough challenge, but those are my keys, and I'll pass it back to you. I know I said a lot. Our offensive line has to be prepared.
That's really good breakdown. I'm in agreement.
Yeah, I was going to say, just to summarize real quick, just our offensive line has to be prepared for their front seven, get our running game going, and make sure that we stop their pass rushing threat, specifically their guy, James Pierce Jr., who I expect to be lined up on our left side, their defensive right, our left side, majority of the time. And if we have to counter that by quick passes, running the football, getting on the perimeter, because that's one way to counter a team with good pass rush. We got to do whatever we need to do that. And then, defensively, like I said, we got to do a good job being prepared for tempo, stopping their run, and just being disciplined in the back end if they do take those shots. Because, again, that's all they're doing that messes you up. They're almost like it reminds me of kind of how Auburn is, where they just try to get you with those trick plays and gimmicks. They just try to get you out of position, right? I'm not disrespecting them. They do have guys up front. They do try to beat you straight up. But realistically, the reason they're so good at running the football is because they go so fast with their tempo. Like they'll have a nice running play like everybody does. But then the reason they're having more success is because they're hopping back on the football when you're out of position, when you're in the wrong personnel group, right? So as long as you're prepared for that, which we should be, we know these guys, we know them from last year, we've been watching them on tape all week. I think we should be good, because I'll be honest, I like the way our defense has been playing. I think our offense is slowly coming along, and really I pair that with the mentality that we should have going into this game, knowing how it transpired last season. I fully expect us to come out and play one of our best games this season. And I've been waiting for a full four-quarter performance out of our team. I was hoping to see it last week. I thought it was a good chance for it, even though I knew playing that early game was going to probably, not going to give us that opportunity, because, guys, it's hard to wake up and play. But I think this, with it being a rivalry game, a redemption game, and just we match up so well, I think our guys are ready to go in for a street fight, and hopefully they'll have the right mentality. But real quick before I pass it back to you, let's get to these super chats, because I don't want to disregard these at all. I'm on my phone, guys, so bear with me. So I'm trying to do this the best we can. We had a bunch of stuff going on, but we wanted to make sure we could hop on with you guys even for a little bit if we could. Adam with the $50 super chat. Adam, by the way,
Adam
the
just
Miller's Edge
around
Extra
the post.
presented by my man Adam. By the way, Adam, I got your box. It's going out in the mail tomorrow. I promise. We've had a bunch of some family stuff going on this whole week. It's been a long week, but no excuses. I got your box ready. I promise. The box is ready. I just got to drop it off. So it's coming to you very soon. I promise you, brother. Adam says, Christian, last year everyone said how Tennessee created mismatches. Shouldn't there be a rule that no matter what the formation, corners cover receivers, safety covers tight ends, linebackers cover running backs, or would a 4-4-2 scheme work? Sorry, I'm like all in the camera. Guys, I'm on my phone. I promise the words are so small. First, Adam, thank you so much for the super chat. And remember, the show is presented by you at this point. But here's the thing, Adam. So yes, they do look for mismatches, and it's smart on their part. That's really good coaching by Josh Heupel. I mean, that's why me and my dad talk about, scheming for our offense. Like sometimes we just feel like we don't necessarily do that. We just rely on just beating guys mano a mano, and that's great, right? You can do that, especially if you have the talent. But when you run into obstacles like having a left tackle who's really struggling, or you're having receivers that are, I'm not saying this year we're having issues, but having issues creating separation, that's why it's smart to be able to scheme and get those mismatches. Because, I mean, look at the Miami Dolphins. They have all the talent in the world, but look how they scheme things. They move Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle all around, creating mismatches, getting those guys, moving and creating basically chaos for a defense. It's just smart. Why wouldn't you do that? But to answer your question, you said basically what you're saying is, why don't we just play man coverage? Issue is when you try to just play it that way, you create vulnerabilities in other areas. And we're talking about a team that really likes to run the football, and so you never want to be outmatched there. And number two, if you do just want to play straight man, there's a lot of weaknesses when you play man, right? So you have to just pick and choose your battles. And then lastly, which is probably the biggest issue, is you never want to disregard the integrity of the defense, right? Now, I agree that you can probably call a game more tailored to this type of offense, and I agree it probably would be easier. But let me throw this out there, and hopefully this makes sense for you, Adam. They run a lot of bunch formations, right? Playing man in those bunches, those tight splits is difficult, because if you're just saying you're playing straight man and they're already like this tight, and these guys have late uh, developing routes where they're crossing and switching, it's easy for guys to get picked. It's easy for guys to get off balance. It's easy for guys to get out of position. So sometimes, believe it or not, playing man against them is even more difficult, just because of the spacing and how tight their splits are, if that makes sense. So there's a number of reasons why you can't just do that. Now, you probably could, and you see how it goes, but more than likely, it probably would end up presenting more issues. Plus, there's a chance you end up being, messed up in the run game, because if you're playing man and their receivers are split all the way on the sidelines, that means you got two guys all the way out on this sideline, two guys all the way out on this sideline, and depending on the personnel grouping you're in, you're left with only a handful of guys in the box, and then they're just exploiting you in the run game. So hopefully that makes sense. So that's the biggest issue with that. But when you mentioned the 4-4-2 scheme, so that's yeah,
I think it's more like a 4-2-5 is what it means.
yeah. I was about to say, so 4-2-5 would be like a nickel, which you got 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and 5 DBs. That 5th DB is the star. How we play it. Nickel, you definitely going to play a lot of. You probably, honestly, you're going to base out of nickel, and then because they play a lot of 11 personnel, 1 tight end, 1 running back. But when they go 10 personnel, which is just 1 running back, no tight ends, and 4 receivers, you want to get in dime. And that's why I was saying the issue is they'll go to 10 personnel, spread you out with these wide splits all the way on the sideline, you got all these DBs in the game, number one. Now you're all spread out. You only got 1 linebacker in the game, and then they're looking to run the football. You see how that can create issues? So you almost, again, you got to pick and choose your battles, and you just got to find the best way to play it where you're not too vulnerable in one way, than the other, if that makes sense. So
and
you want to comment on that?
They want to do is get you caught up in it with the wrong personnel, right? The new rules, if they change, the official will come up and put his hand by the center, which means the defense has a chance to change personnel. They can't catch you like that, but sometimes you get caught up like that, right?
Well, if they sub, then you can sub. But if they don't sub, then it doesn't matter. Yeah.
But sometimes you get sleeping, or somebody on the sideline whose job is to identify personnel has to be on point to make sure you get the right personnel in the ball game. But listen, they want to spread you out right? If you're in dime, which means you got 6 DBs in the game, well, they're not equipped to play tackle football in the box game. So they want to catch you in that, right? And all they need is a little gap because they got your corners way outside on the sideline. They run the stack. They run double stack with 10 personnel back there. And so you try to split that. I know what the way Alabama plays defense, they try to split that, right? Because you don't want to be in man coverage because if they do run a pass, you're going to get picked. So they got to have one guy on the ball. The way to play that is put a guy on that receiver, and you got to jam him. You heard me talking about this with Brock Bowers a week ago, how college football, even now the NFL, you don't see them redirect. You don't see them jam receivers anymore. You got to be physical in the pass game. And so they got to put a guy on the line of scrimmage guy, and then you back the other guy off, and then you can banjo those guys with zone, and then have a backer that's dropping to your hooks. But they do that so they can run the football because they're not a dominating power run type football team. They run out of dime personnel. They run out of a nickel, right? Even when you got 5 defensive backs in the ball game, 4 D linemen. So Alabama will play, I think, a lot of nickel in this ball game, and you got to have a versatile guy, which I think they have that guy. If going to be really crucial, this is crucial. I don't know. We haven't heard for sure. But 13 has to play. 13 is that trump card, like in spades. Booyah, beep, beep. In spades, you slap it down, beep. 13 is that beep that can do a little bit of everything, right? He can come up, he can play in the box, he's a great tackler in the open field, he can back up, and he can play coverage. So if he plays, I think that's a great benefit for this Bama defense, along with how Caleb Downs is playing on the back end. But this is a situation, Adam, that Bama got to be great with their front 4. Run discipline, gap integrity is going to be crucial. Where those linebackers are feeling is going to be crucial. Cut back is going to be crucial, and they got to tackle well. But I'm not really concerned. I mean, because Hendon Hooker, that team, I was concerned because the passing game, there's so many explosives. This game, they run a lot. I mean, their passing game a little over 200 yards a game, kind of like Alabama's. They really mirror each other in that. They kind of balance 50-50. So I'm not worried about too many big down-the-field shots. They'll take them, just to keep you honest, but I'm not too overly concerned the way that I think the defense can play. Dallas Turner, Chris Braswell on the outside. Our tackles, I'm drawing a blank, but 96 is the number. The 96.
Tim Keenan.
Oh, my God. That big dude with the big belly that wear the halter top jersey. I love it when the fat boy pull out the halter top jersey. And those are bad boys like Quentin Williams and those dudes. I mean, he reminds me of what Bama defensive tackles used to look like. He's showing me that's what they do. He can stop him, and he gets 2 gaps. He plays it. I mean, he does a lot of great things. But man, that halter top jersey with the T-shirt and the gut hanging out, yes, sir, my brother, do your thing. Do your thing. I'm not really concerned. I think Bama defense is on point, on par. They're playing great football right now, even though they got lazy last week, the second half in that ball game, which they've been a tremendous second half football team. Got a little, lackadaisical, non-motivated, but I think this week, since they got scorched really big last year, I think they'll look to redeem themselves.
I agree. Let's go to the next one. But real quick, Adam, again, thank you so much. Remember, that is on the way, I promise. It's been a long week for us as a family, but I promise it's on the way. So thanks again, Adam. Genevieve's house with the $20 super chat says, Roll Tide. Genevieve, Roll Tide.
House call.
Let's go, Milrow and Company. You got this. Roll Tide. Look, I love the passion. I love the confidence. I'm with you. I think Jalen Milrow is going to have a big game. He seems confident this week with his press conferences, and he should be, right? I mean, look, this is a good Tennessee football team. But again, you got to think about this, guys. Like, this is a redemption game. It's at home. It's time for us to flip the script on them, right? And again, I know a lot of people were frustrated last week, but first of all, you mentioned Jalen Milrow. So let's go back. The first half, he was like 7 of 10 for 200 and something yards, and I think 3 touchdowns. He had 1 rushing touchdown, 2 passes. Now, yes, those 2 passing touchdowns were those deep shots that we really out-schemed them. We had free run-ins. Doesn't matter. If you give those stats to any other quarterback, people are ranting and raving, which they were in the first half. And so, look, the second half, yes, we're disappointed. But here's the thing, right? It clearly was a mental thing. Guys weren't locked in. Guys had a lack of focus. It was almost as if guys like, all right, we're up 24-6. It's 11 o'clock game. Let's get out of here. Let's put another couple points on the board and then let the other guys in. But that didn't happen. Arkansas, they kept their foot on the gas. They're like, we let our foot off the gas. So I'm not tripping on that. I think this will be a totally different week. But you're right. I'm ready to see our guys roll. I'm ready for them to get that revenge. I've never lost to Tennessee when I was here 5 years. So it felt really weird seeing us fall to Tennessee, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we're going to be lighting them up after the game. And speaking of lighting them up, if you guys are looking for somewhere to go get your cigars or you want to order them, go to rnrcigars.com and use the code Miller's Edge. You get 20% off and free shipping. We're not getting any benefits from that. This is just for you guys. They're one of our partners of our show. And so they're giving us a free code for everybody to use. So make sure you go check those guys out at R&R Cigars to get your victory cigars, because I believe you're going to be lighting them up, right? We're in Bryant-Denny Stadium. It's time to get things back going. And look, you got this big game right now. Get a bye week, then LSU. I hate to say it, but look, I respect Kentucky, but I'm not really
determined if Alabama.
That's right.
Atlanta. The next.
I think the next two games are the
crucial for this Alabama football team. It's going to determine if they get back to Atlanta with the chance to win an SEC and maybe get into the college football playoffs. I don't think this year, especially how tight things are, a 2-loss Alabama or Georgia team will not go to the college football playoffs. There are too many teams out there still undefeated. That's probably going to be a 1-loss team. So it's going to get really interesting down the stretch as far as the playoffs. So this game is really crucial. You got to win at home. You got to protect this house. Under Armour said, I know they're Nike school, but they got to protect Bryant-Denny Stadium. What a perfect scenario. If they don't get to Atlanta, it's just their fault. I mean, because the schedule sets up extremely nice that you get these big games in your backyard. You must control your backyard. And I expect them boys to control their backyard. Let me just throw this out there before we get to another super chat or another comment. This matchup, you talked about the defensive line and the athleticism of their pass rush. True. But on the flip side, this is where we can finally see what J.C. Latham said, what Tyler Booker said at the SEC media days. All right, we want to make people quit. We want to be a 4-minute offense and run the ball down their throat and punch suckers in the mouth. Well, this is the opportunity that you have, because anytime you're playing against that athletic front that wants to jump around, jump inside, be cute, and all this stuff fast up the field, smash them in the face. Run at them. Run counter trades. Run OFs. I mean, man, oh, man, make them defend the run. This is how Alabama wins this game. And this is the perfect game for them to attack Tennessee running the football. You got a 4-headed monster at running back. I mean, Jace McClellan. You got 5. You got Justice Haynes. You got Jam. Jam. I mean, listen, man, Jam Miller, which we love his name, by the way. You got dudes that can run the football. I mean, this is the perfect game for you to showcase this aggression, this physical run attack downhill, punching them in the mouth, because you got smaller, undersized dudes that wants to get you behind the chains, wants to get you second and long, third and long. Everybody in America knows that you got to pass the football, and now in lies the problem. 74 Caden Proctor, kid's going to be a really good football player one day. Need to do some Jenny Craig, need to do some keto, something. Need to lose some weight. Work on his feet, right? Work on that, get some good footwork. I'll get that right in a minute. And he's going to be great. But right now, he's a liability. And I put this on the coaching staff, right? This is on the coaching staff. I mean, if you know you got a player that's struggling and you continue to leave him on the open side, right? Allow these guys to look like they're All-American. I mean, that guy last week from Arkansas, I never heard of this dude. Now Mel Kiper got him in his top 5. I mean, this is what we're doing. We're making people look like they're All-Americans, All-World, Hall of Fame that we've never even heard of. So if you got a dude that's struggling like Caden Proctor, and if Tommy Rees doesn't put a fullback over there or somebody to chip, I mean, if you watched the game against the Dallas and the Chargers, right? What did they do to 11? They kept people over there. They made somebody just bump him, give him a little shiver to slow down his rush, and then they get out into the route. So Tommy Reese has to be better calling the plays. He has to give these guys a chance. If you're going to leave them in there, because you put them on the open side, they're going to be look out blocks, LOB, look out blocks all day long. And Jalen Miro is going to end up hurt because he took some shots in his back. He didn't even see it. So if they don't help him, we're going to have a problem. So I'm looking at that. But I think how you offset that and you offset this fast-paced offense is running game. You play keep away. You say we're going to run the football. We're going to be a 4-minute offense minded. We're going to control the clock, and we're going to keep that fast-paced tempo offense on the sideline. That's how you win games. And if Nick Saban allow Tommy Reese to keep doing what he's doing and put 74 isolated pass rush, man, that dude going to have 8. If that dude last week got 3.5 sacks, this dude going to get about 7. If they don't help him, he'll have 7 sacks, and he's going to destroy anything that Tommy Reese tries to do offensively. And I'm not saying that just to try to be critical. I'm just saying it to be fact and it's real. That's what we've seen in a 7-game sample size is that 74 can't block anybody with speed. And so if the coach does not help him, then I put that on the coach and not the young man.
I agree. And I mean, if you guys haven't seen him, James Pierce Jr., we're not over here trying to, ride this guy. I mean, it's just if you watch his tape, he's a great football player, and he's arguably going to be probably one of the top edge rushers off the board. And next year's draft is guys only a sophomore. And look, we're both edge rushers. I can tell talent when I see it, and just seeing how advanced he is. I mean, this guy is freakish athletic, right? I mean, his get off. I mean, he's flying like he's getting shot out of a cannon, and then just watching him mix and slice and dice these tackles with all types of moves because it looks like he has free reign. Like we talked about, at Alabama, you got to be a little bit more disciplined. It looks like this guy has the free reign to go up and under, take the inside move. I mean, he's putting guys in a blender. So I'll be honest, it's going to be a long night for our offensive line if they don't block this guy.
Imagine if you guys, with all the great pass rush that you have come through Alabama, would have had that freedom. We talked about on our show, The Miller's Edge on Tide 100 this week, how you had to be controlled pass rushers, right? He's big on staying outside, setting the edge, don't lose contain. I mean, I get all of that. But when you're an athletic speed rusher, you have to have the ability to jump inside. That's what speed does, right? You make that tackle wants to come out. He got to come out to you because he's got to respect the speed. And when he jumps outside, oh, man, you got all of this inside of him. I used to tell you all the time, man, why didn't you beat this dude inside? And you always say, well, Coach, if I'd have went inside, Corey, Dad, I went inside, I'd have been over there sitting next to Nick Saban. Alabama, when you think about Chris Braswell, who's more of he reminds me of you a little bit of a pass rusher, more of a technician, but he's got speed. We saw him score. We saw him intercept and score. He can run. Dallas Turner can run, great athlete, right? But they don't have that freedom. They don't have that freedom to do that. I wish they kind of unleashed them boys a little bit like we've seen with Tennessee, because I think we could probably have a lot more sacks if so, because don't you think the offense knows what you guys are doing? Don't they know that their ends are going to be outside? Their outside backs, their edge guys, they're not coming inside. That's easy for the tackle, all right? Because he knows everything going inside. So sometimes you got to do some things, and even if it's just running some games, some ET games, right? To run some stunts, do some slants. Everybody's doing the Alabama's offensive line, but we sometimes, I think the biggest negative I will say about this defense, we get too standard. Sometimes the defense is a little bit too complicated. We're making them guys think too much, and therefore you get mistakes. And also, I don't think we take full advantage of the athleticism of the guys that we have on the outside. I mean, like them 5-stars that hadn't played a whole lot, but those kind of dudes need to be versatile, need to be able to have some wiggle and some bend and some jumping on the inside. That would be my only negative towards the defense. But nonetheless, very sound across the board, and has done a great job for the most part of this football season.
Yeah, well, I'll say this. I mean, I would have loved the freedom to really go inside at my will. I mean, in the NFL, we used to call it a clear game. If I had, a 3 technique to my side, and I felt like my tackle had been overset me a lot, and I thought that I was going to have the inside move there, I could look at my guy and tell him clear, 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 and he'd know to cover me, right? If he saw me take the inside move,
outside when you went inside,
he's going to take contain for me. But here's
Right.
Look, I'm with you on that at Alabama, but the thing is, you know, look,
Yeah, well, you can't
discipline.
complain that we
Look.
national champions. I'm not
No,
saying
look,
that,
uh,
but
no,
I'm
no. I'm
just
just
saying
saying. The
I
only
know
thing
that
about that is, look, the discipline style of football that we played at Alabama, it won us championships. And so one thing I learned is I'd rather have more rings than sacks. And so that's the only thing I'll say about it. Because these other teams that let guys freelance and do all that, they're not disciplined. They give up big plays. Because yeah, you'll make
I'd
some
rather have
negatives.
more cheddar than sacks. Because when you can rush the passer, guess what? Cha-ching, cha-ching. It's like
I mean,
cha-ching.
see that type of mindset will not win you championships. At Alabama, you got to learn. Alabama, you got to learn
A
not to
lot
be
of boys got
selfish,
rings.
but
Hey,
selfless.
a
Nope.
lot of boys got them rings and broke right
They
now.
got diamond rings, but they ain't got championship rings. Look, hey,
I,
all I'm saying is this, man. It
I,
paid off, man. It is what it is.
no,
But here
no.
we go. Adam with another super chat. Adam, here he goes again with a $20 super chat.
Make it a cheddar. Make it
Adam.
rain, brother. Make it rain.
Adam says, random question. Why did Bryson Will leave early for the NFL when they were making so much NIL money and could have won a championship at Bama, excuse me. The NFL seems less team oriented and not so much fun for players. Look, I'll be honest with you. I agree with you in terms of the NFL is a lot different, right? In college, you have that camaraderie. You've got that brotherhood. Everybody's, on the same page, trying to, going after the same goals as winning a championship, getting to the NFL. When you get to the NFL, people have made it, right? There's some guys on the team that they really only care about stats, kind of how my dad's over here talking, right? I'm not gonna
No,
lie to you.
I mean,
Look,
listen.
no. I'm saying just guys have a different approach. Like, I'll be honest, coming from Alabama, I just said it. Like, I learned, my game plan is not to cover a stat sheet. It's to do my job, play discipline, be effective, make an impact and ultimately win. And when I got to the NFL with the Panthers, I'll be honest, no knock on them, but we had a bunch of guys in the locker room that once we lost 4, 5, 6 games and we weren't making the playoffs, or even before then, all guys cared about was hitting their padding their stats so they could hit their bonuses and then get about, get their check and get about the office. So it's a lot different. And
Hey,
what I'm
Adam,
just saying, it is different.
back in the day, we didn't have no direct deposit, right? So when we traveled, and we hadn't lost the game when I was at the Giants. And listen, man, wasn't no boo-hooing going on at all. Listen, it was like Phil said, all he was ready to do in the back of the plane is light his cigarette up. I mean, so, and other than that, we wanted Jimmy, who was a check man. That's all. When Jimmy stepped on the plane and with the white envelope, it was like that. Hey, bro. Hey, you know what? I done went 60 minutes hard, tried to win, tried to play a team, trying to ball, but you know what? We want that check. I mean, because NFL means not for long, and you got to get paid when you can get paid. Bottom line, Adam. But of
Well,
course,
I mean,
it's
but
NFL is more of a business, which the college football
for
is trying
sure.
to do this, right? It's the more guys. It's about the money. It must be the money. You know that song? Um, it's the money that's changing college football, NIL, name, image, and likeness, and but you can't blame them. You can still be a great teammate, a great team player, and also be about your business, the money as well. So there's a way to put those things together and still do what you need to do. But at the end of the day, I tell people all the time, I wanted to win championships. I never had that blessing and privilege to do it. I played a lot of years in the National Football League with a lot of great players. Had a lot of great years individually. Got my decade of playing. I was one of the highest paid defensive players when I played for several years. So, I mean, listen, it matters because back in the day, we didn't have NIL. And schools will say, we'll take care of you. We're going to do this. We're going to help you. Man, they did nothing to help players. They did nothing. So you had to be a little bit selfish-minded just because you needed to take care of your family. If you didn't, life could be rough. So that's the mindset. Not that we're selfish players.
But I'll I'll be honest with them though. I don't think that was it with them. I mean, they both come from solid families. If
No,
I'm
I'm
being
saying
honest
not
with
these
you,
guys. About me.
oh, well, I was about to say, honestly, with Bryson Will, it's just one of those situations where if you can be a top 5 pick, you just got to go at him. I mean, Coach Saban literally, when you meet with him, if you're a guy who's an underclassman, you're able to have the opportunity to make that decision. You sit down with Coach Saban, y'all discuss it. He'll give you the feedback that he's gotten from scouts and all the representatives in the NFL that he's talked to, and he'll give you your draft grade, and he'll tell you if you're a first round pick, he actually encourages you to leave. Now, obviously, if he feels that you could come back and add more value, if you're a late first rounder, but he feels if you come back, you could be a top 10 pick. That's a big difference in money. I mean,
Well, Bryce,
you're talking about,
40 million guaranteed, so you're not going to make that an NIL.
but that's why I'm saying they needed to leave. Those guys were projected top 5 picks, so they both need to leave. Coach Saban would tell you to leave. I'm saying if you're not a first round pick, he probably will encourage you to come back, right? He's not going to tell you what to do, but that would be his advice. But Adam, if I had to guess, not if I had to guess, that's what it is. Those guys, if you're top 5 picks, you got to go. You don't want to risk getting injured or, I hate to say it, but you really can only, when you're at the top, like Bryce, only place to go is down, right? He wouldn't have made any more money. Yeah, so he had more to lose if he came back. Same kind of with Will because he was a top 5 pick. But that's a good point, Adam. With NIL, you're right. A majority of these guys, if I was in their shoes, if I was, if I wasn't going to be a top 10 pick, I would consider coming back because you're right. I mean, you're making a couple $1 million in college anyways. Why not? That's me, though. I don't know if everybody's like that. I know we don't have much time on here, guys, so I'll try to get to a couple more questions, and we're probably going to have to get off here just because it's late. We got a few more minutes. I'm going to try to go to some old comments. Or let's see. Here we go right here. Sam, just real quick says, guys, if you haven't already said it, what would be the keys to the game offensively and defensively? We did. It was kind of, I'm not gonna lie, we really kind of went around and it wasn't really intact, right? So if I had to go back and give some keys, this is what I would say. For our offense, we've got to protect up front. We've got to win the line of scrimmage. I know it sounds redundant, but I think in this game, when you go against a solid defensive front that Tennessee has, it's going to be imperative that we do that, specifically narrowing down on their pass rush, right? We've got to protect the quarterback. These guys have some athletic guys up front. They're not the biggest, but they're athletic. They can move. We've got to do a really good job up front. And then to add on to that, I'd like to see us get our running game going. I love that we're explosive through the air as of recently, but we can't rely on these home run shots. They're not always going to be there. Trust me. Right. So you never want to rely on that. We heard Coach Saban when I interviewed him last week. He talked about that. We need more balance in our offense. This is the week to do it. We need balance. We have to establish our run. I think it's a great opportunity because when you play a team with great pass rushers, what do? You run at those guys. So I think we need to establish a line of scrimmage, prepare for their pass rush, but really run the football in this game. So those are my keys offensively. And then obviously always protect the football, right? I mean, we know what can happen if we turn the ball over. So far, the last few weeks, we've done a good job protecting the ball, so we need to continue to do that. Defensively, I'm telling you right now, this is what you're going to get. They're going to spread you out. They're going to try to create mismatches. They're going to look to run the football, and they'll occasionally throw the ball downfield. But you have to be ready for that tempo. So what you're going to get on offense is they'll operate out of 10 personnel, 1 running back, 0 tight ends, 4 receivers, right? Spread those guys out. They're going to get an 11 personnel. They like to run power, counter a Y, counter a T, all type of. They have a very diverse running game. But ultimately, they're trying to hurry up and get back on the ball so they can get you out of position. They don't want to give you time to sub. And so defensively, you've got to be ready for that tempo. You got to get your call. You got to get your alignment, get your assignment, and be ready to rock and roll. And so, they'll run the ball. They'll try to convert, get back on the ball, run it again. They'll work the perimeter. They like throwing screens. So the other thing defensively you have to do, you have to have great run support on the perimeter. It's going to be vital that those cornerbacks and safeties out there are coming up with good force, good support, right? Getting the ball kicked to the teeth of your defense, which is the inside. And you got to tackle well in space because when everything is spread out, you end up having to make a lot more plays in space. And so to sum all that up, defensively, be prepared for tempo, stop the run, have good force on the perimeter when they run the screen games or run the edges, and tackle well in space and try to force some turnovers, right? And just ultimately, as a team, just have the right mentality. Go out there and play football. Go play a dominant brand of football for 4 quarters, 60 minutes, right? This is a redemption game. Remember that feeling last year, how it felt to get stormed? Make those guys pay. This is your opportunity, right? Don't do any talking. Do it all with your play. But ultimately, I think if we do those things, we'll be prepared. Because, look, that's what you do. That's what they do. Turn on the tape, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about right now. I promise you. And we're telling you how to stop it. You just got to be prepared for it. So those are my keys. You want to hit your keys while I look for some more comments real quick?
No, just real quick. I mean, defensively, be angry and play pissed off. Defense is about passion and emotion. Be willing to tackle well in space because they're going to work the space. Be sound in your gaps defensively. Get them behind the chain. Win first down. Make them become predictable. in their play calling, and then get after the quarterback, get him on the ground, get Joe Milton on the ground. But I'm pretty simple with the defense. Don't give up explosives. Don't let people behind you like we did last. That's most important. Don't give up big plays on the game on Saturday. Offensively, I said earlier, it's about running the football. It's about the trenches. It's about being what they said they wanted to be. They tricked me up to this point, got me believing in the gospel of 4-minute offense. They had me believing that they were going to go out there. I looked at this offensive line. I had a chance to go to scrimmage and practice and watch the boys. And, man, they were bigger than any NFL offensive line that I ever seen. I'm like, oh, my God, these dudes, I see what JC's talking about. I see what Tyler Booker's. They going to smash people. It's going to be It's going to be ugly. It's old school football. I mean, counter trades, running off tackle, toss sweeps. I mean, play action passes, deep balls. But it hasn't been that. Up to this point, they tricked me. Up to this point, they sold a false gospel because they haven't done that. I've seen them get knocked back. I've seen them get pushed around. So the run game, most important tomorrow, because if they run the ball, they give the defense time to rest. They keep the fast-paced offense on the sidelines. They control the clock. They play keep away. They shorten the possessions of Tennessee's offense. Number 2, Jalen Milroe, smart with the football. If he gets pressure, he's got to be quick. And I always said he has to process the information a little bit quicker for me, knowing where he's going with the ball. He feels the pressure, bam, ball out. Sometimes he's a little bit too slow, even when he gets outside the pocket, when he's improvising, when he's extending the play. Make a decision. He takes sacks. Some of them is not on the offensive line because he isn't processing the information fast enough. So I hope he gets that thing in his head and he gets on the outside. Hey, there's nobody there. Hey, Jalen, we'll take 20 yards with your legs, bro. That's just as good. Don't try to prove that you're a pocket quarterback. Stop listening to all this foolishness of fans and all these people. Do you. You're an athlete. Be an athlete. So when you get outside, nothing there, make a decision, run the football. If it's 5 yards, hey, great, take the 5. Don't take a negative play. Don't get sacked. So he needs to be smarter with the football in his hand. And number 3, just don't turn it over. Don't give them cheap possessions. Don't give them a short field to work with. Don't give them cheap points. And if Alabama, as they say, if Alabama can do these things that the POP is talking about, they'll win by 10-plus points. And I think, as Nick Saban said, the fans, you're important. Just like you had problems in Knoxville and good old Rocky Top last year with the crowd noise, return the favor. Let them know how loud that Bryant-Denny Stadium can be. I know you got the lights and all that flashing, but I would just be honest with you. Alabama, as big as that stadium is, hasn't been one of those imposing that other teams have a problem with. So as Coach Saban challenged you tonight at hey, Coach, be loud. Make it very difficult for the offense of Tennessee. Appreciate the question, Sam.
No doubt. And real quick before we get out of here, Kelly Kells of the night team.
In and off the bench, you coming in with the slide up in there, girlfriend. I see you.
That's right. Kelly says, Milroe and Millen are statistically the same. X factor will be who can lead and inspire their team to be more than the sum of their parts. Thank you, Millers, for your time, and roll tide, roll. Well, thank you, Kelly, for all your support, including your super chat. We appreciate you, all your support. But you're right. It's going. I mean, look, these teams really stack up. They almost mirror each other. That's why I think it's going to be a really good game. But I think throwing the fact that it's home field for us, our guys should be going out there playing pissed off, and the fact that I think, defensively, I think we stack up well against this type of offense as long as we're playing disciplined and prepared for it. I think we're in good shape, and I'm just going to put on our offense line to protect Milroe and hopefully establish that run game. And I think we'll be good. But Kelly, thank you so much again for your support. We love having you in here and always supporting us on our show. Guys, remember, we have a radio show Monday through Friday on Tide 100.9. You can always check us out there, 11 a.m. Central to 12. We'll be live at Buffalo's Cafe in Midtown Village tomorrow from 11 to 1. So check us out. My dad will be over at R&R Cigars. So you can go hang out with both of us.
I'm here in town.
That's right. So we're getting game day weekend started the right way. Go ahead.
This is what Kelly talked about. I read this, the statistics earlier too, Kelly. Jay Milton III is 112 of 182, 1,264 yards, 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Jalen Milroe, 85 of 132. Now he's thrown 50 less passes than Joe Milton, 1,397 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. Then at receiver, their leading receiver, running back, Jay Wright has 80 carries, 571. And Jason McClellan has 95 carries, 454, 3 touchdowns. And then at the receiver, the comparison there, because Mr. Burton got 19 catches for 446 yards, 4 touchdowns, leads Alabama. And then White of Tennessee has 29 catches for 305 yards. So you can see that they're not that passing team with a bunch of frisbee catching dogs. They like running the football, try to be a little bit balanced. But you're right. I think quarterback play is going to be crucial. Now they do have they average 443 yards a game. Alabama only 367, and they give up 300 yards a game. Alabama give up 292 on defense, 197 pass yards a game, and 105 rush yards a game. And Alabama's same 105.3. 187.1 in the passing game. So when you look at the stats, and Christian knows I hate these stats, but I read them.
Hey, it tells part of the story, not the whole story, but part of it.
Told us stats for losers. They tell part of the story, never the entire story. So that's been in my mind because you're right, because the stats can trick you every single time. But you're right. If you're looking at them and comparing, they look similar. Kelly Kell, God bless you. Thank you.
That's right. All right. Well, again, guys, thank y'all so much for tuning in. We'll try to make it a little bit longer next time. Like I said, we've had a long week. Just put this out there. Make sure you guys pray for our family. We've got a lot going on right now, but still wanted to come on here, hop on, hang out, and spend some time with you guys because we enjoy it, and I know you guys do as well. So if you do, please drop a like below. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so you stay up to date. Just like tonight, we didn't have it planned, but last minute we said, hey, we got to hop on. We got to do our show.
So make sure we did that. But give the people what they want. You got to give.
That's right. That's exactly right. But again, thank you, everybody. Thank you to everybody who's in here.
A glass of communion, by the way. I hope you don't judge me. Just one glass.
Oh my! You're good. Ain't nobody worry about that. They're just here for a good time. And again, thank you to Adam, Genevieve, and Kelly for the super chats. Thank y'all so much for your support. We really appreciate it. We seriously do. And everybody else in here. Again, I'm sorry we couldn't get everything. I'm operating on my phone right now, so it's tough. But again, thank y'all so much. And I'm seeing all the comments of everybody showing their support for the show and saying how much they appreciate it. So thank you. We really do.
We're not on here. It's for a reason that we're not saying everything right now, but just continue to pray for this family and know that God is always in control. But if for some reason we don't jump on or something, just know there's a major reason if we're not on here. But we'll probably post something if that's the case. But stand in prayer with us. I believe in prayer. The power of prayer changes things. So that's what we hope for. God bless you. Appreciate all of it.
That's exactly right. We hope everybody enjoyed the show tonight. Again, we'll be back for the Miller's Edge post-game show Saturday after the game. So roughly probably about 6 or 6:30 or so. Just depending on how things work out. I'll be working as sideline reporter, so you can listen to me on the radio call as well. But again, go ahead.
One quick thing I told, I wanted to be a man of my word. Real quickly, Bo Scarborough, former Alabama running back, and the Bama Study guys want me to let you know they'll be at the Bryant Museum this Saturday from 8 to 11. That's the Bryant Museum, selling his limited edition autographed shirts. He also is auctioning off cleats and gloves from the 2016 game versus Tennessee. Proceeds that will benefit LLS, Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. At 11 a.m., he will also be signing autographs at the Bryant Museum. So if you go by there, the Bryant Museum, Bo Scarborough got T-shirts, cleats, and gloves. He'll be autographing and giving away, again, benefits leukemia, LLS, Leukemia, Lymphoma and Society, Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. I get that right, at 11 a.m. So please go support Bo Scarborough and his mission there with LLS. So God bless you. And I know some of you would do that. I know he appreciates it as well.
That's right. And I will throw this out there before we go. Last thing, October 23rd, Monday, the T-Mobile store on Highway 69 South in the Patriot Center. They've got an event from 5:30 to 7 o'clock at the store on Highway 69 South, the Patriot Center T-Mobile store. We'll have Kool-Aid, Kendrick Blackshire, I'm drawing a blank, Terrion Arnold, and Deontay Lawson. Those 4 guys will be signing autographs. There'll be merch. They've got giveaways like game tickets, Yeti cooler, all type of things. So make sure you go check them out. as well. Again, that's October 23rd, Monday. Those four guys, Terrion Arnold, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Deontay Lawson, and Kendrick Blackshire, those guys will be at the T-Mobile store on Highway 69 South in the
Now,
Patriot
should they
Center,
get a free
signing autograph.
an iPhone 15 Pro Max? Get me and you one for free, so I can
Yeah, we need to see if they'll hook us up.
Hook a
That's right.
brother
But
up.
anyway,
They got the website hookabrotherup.com. Hook a
there you
brother
go.
up /pastorpain.com. How about that? There you go.
With that being said, appreciate you guys joining tonight. Again, thank y'all so much for your prayers and thank y'all for the support. Again, we'll see you guys for the post-game show. This has been the Miller's Edge Extra. Make sure you drop a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.